So the irritated then ends into getting inflamed.
Okay.
So when it gets inflamed, the mucosa which is
inflamed means it is damaged.
It is damaged. It is irritated and it reacts by dividing more other cells.
Okay.
Then with time, it becomes like a scar tissue, but then it reduces size. And the gland cells that produce mucus, they also increase in number. And remember, the rumen is not increasing in size. So they end up making that space reduce. So you have sucked in air, but doesn't come out easily.
That is in chronic bronchitis.
Chronic bronchitis.
Okay.
So in emphysema, we talked about the tree that is inverted. And consider the air sacs called alveoli like the leaves of the tree. So the alveoli are supposed to allow air in and then diffuse into the bloodstream because we have capillaries around them. So then in emphysema, you have normally the alveoli, the air sacs, they allow air in and they can expand. And then they can squeeze after breathing, when they are breathing out, to push air out. But in emphysema, the walls of the alveoli are destroyed. So the alveoli expand, but does not go do what? So they keep open.
Ah.
So there comes and it stays there.
Still going back to our structure of the inverted tree. We have the trunk, which is the trachea,
yes,
the
and
air
bronchus,
pipe, and bronchus.
And bronchus down.
The branches
yes.
are the bronchus.
Bronchioles.
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 And then the leaves are the air sacs.
Yes.
Which air sacs are supposed to allow air to get into the blood.
Yes.
And we are very much interested in the oxygen, isn't it? And so you're saying in emphysema, the air sacs, which are now the leaves, are damaged.
Are damaged, and they use the elastic.
They cannot expand, so they keep open.
They keep open. They can't recoil back and squeeze air out when you breathe air out.
Okay.
So they keep open like this. Okay. That means if carbon dioxide has come from blood and needs to go out, and oxygen has come in, it keeps there.
Open. It can't get into the system.
Yes.
Wow.
Then you find more carbon dioxide. So the blood that's being saturated, that saturates around the capillaries from the right side of the heart to get oxygenated before it goes into the left side of the heart, it finds carbon dioxide. And if it is interested in getting oxygen. So you have more carbon dioxide going back to the bloodstream.
Which is a big problem.
Becomes a big problem.
So that is in emphysema.
In emphysema.
Okay.
So whereas in asthma, the smoke or whatever comes and irritates the smooth muscles in the airway still. And the smooth muscles react by contracting, what we call bronchoconstriction. And that itself makes the lumen reduce in size. So the same also makes the air that is already in the lungs down, unable to come out fully. So you have more carbon dioxide inside. And then if the air you are breathing in does not find the way through, so it can access the alveoli cell for oxygenating the blood.
Leopold, is this a big problem in Uganda?
It is a big problem.
Or in actually the world, because nowadays we talk about the global village, it's not just about Uganda.
Let's start from Uganda and go up globally. So in Uganda, we have in different hospital admissions, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease at 60%. 16% actually, 16 or 60%, 16%.
16 at the regional referral hospitals.
Yes.
Every 100 people that are admitted in the regional referral hospitals in Uganda, 16 out of them have the problem of chronic obstructive lung disease. Yes, sir.
That's true. And in Africa, we have 26 million confirmed cases, and globally we have 380 million.
What?
380 million COPD cases.
That is a big problem.
Yes. But we should also note that every year, 3 million lives are lost due to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So
it is a very big problem.
Yeah. When you look at the statistics of the causes of death, apart from cardiovascular disease and cancer, these diseases come number 3.
Wow.
It's a very big problem because now if you look at even war, the deaths that are lost due to war, they are quite lower than what is caused by the death caused by chronic obstructive pulmonary disease globally.
How come we are hearing this for the first time? You guys are not talking about it. Ugandans don't know about this. That's why it appears to be a very big word. Yet it's something that is very close to us. What is happening? How come you guys are talking about it?
With the problem we are having, we don't have good testing, the diagnostic criteria, diagnostics or screening tests, or even screen people to do them around in our hospitals and healthcare facilities.
Okay.
So because the testing that is global accepted is spirometry, and we don't have them around.
Okay.
So if you're told they are there,
Yes.
the skills to have these the skilled people to do these tests are not there. So you find people they get sick. They try other methods, actually they don't know, then they later find when it has advanced.
And maybe even the hospitals, they go to the doctors who are attending to them,
Yes.
don't know that this is the problem.
They don't, yes.
Leopard, are you going to keep it a little bit there? We'll be coming back in a minute. We are taking a short break. Our viewers, you're catching us live on UBC this evening, but you can also get us on our social media platforms, that is Facebook, the Doctalk Show, as well as on YouTube. Kindly share this link with all your friends in all your WhatsApp groups. Let them join this very interactive show this evening. And if you have any question or any comment, please leave them in the section below, and we will surely get back to you. Otherwise, thank you for the opportunity to be in your living rooms this evening. We'll be back in a moment.
You are watching the Doctalk Show. You are watching the Doctalk Show.
Thank you so much for keeping it here with us. And continue to share the link, the Doctalk Show on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Let's share this good message. When we broke off, we were still getting into this big elephant, biting it a piece at a time, the elephant of chronic obstructive lung diseases. And in studio with me, for those that have just joined us, is Leopold Buseruka, a specialist of the heart and lungs in terms of physiotherapy, and exactly just try to see how, if you have an issue with your heart or the lungs, they can help you through physiotherapy. Yes, Leopard has just told us about the three main common diseases that manifest as chronic airway diseases, obstructive airway diseases. We talked about chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and asthma. So, Leopold, please tell us, what are the risk factors? What predisposes people to these things, and how can we avoid them?
The main risk factors is smoking. You can be an active smoker, but also even passive smokers. If your neighbor is a smoker or your spouse is a smoker, you're also at risk of getting any of the diseases. Another issue which people are not aware of is pollution. Because if you consider a country like Uganda, the pollution levels are high, are 5 times higher than the maximum recommended by WHO.
Wow, okay.
So pollution, air pollution,
that's
because
very dangerous.
We have traffic, gases from traffic, from industries, biomass. Biomass, I mean burning firewood, but people are burning garbage on the street. So that air mixes in the atmosphere and we inhale it. Other risk factors can be infection, previous infection, even TB can be a risk factor for getting chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and childhood infections. Now, when you look at the people that are that are high in getting these diseases are these that are using biomass to cook. Biomass, firewood, firewood, charcoal, and even grass to cook. So in slum places like, resource settings and crowded places, most people have a habit of cooking in their homes. And we find that
in 90% the houses,
in their
inside the houses,
yes.
Okay.
So 90% of Ugandans use biomass. And
firewood, charcoal.
People are squeezed in small rooms. The bed is there, they cook near the bed. So all that air accumulates in the room and they breathe that air. So those are the main risk factors.
Okay. Risk, so that's for all the three?
Yes, for all the three.
Okay. People are wondering, asthma. Asthma, can somebody get it later in life, or it's something that is run through blood, exposure through the mother and the father? Can somebody get asthma later in life?
You can get later in life, but what is most common is that most people get it when they are still young. To this message, I think parents can take this important message. When you are selecting a school where you are taking your child, it is very important even to consider their health. Because if you expose your child daily traffic, morning and evening traffic, this air pollution, you're exposing him or her to getting these conditions. So it's better you make the best choice when you're considering a school for your child. Considering also that, but asthma can also be genetic. It can run through families.
Okay.
But you can also get, you can be an adult, but if you get like a work maybe in an industry, because you're exposed to harmful gases, you can develop it.
Okay.
For the young adults, they can develop it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So high on the list for the risk factors is smoking.
Smoking.
People are smoking very many things: tobacco, marijuana, bangi, many other things. So those things actually can predispose somebody to this condition.
Yes.
So for those that are watching us and you're an active smoker, you're at a very high risk, but even you're putting your loved ones, the passive smokers, at the risk of chronic obstructive lung disease. What are the symptoms of these diseases?
We have what we call 4 cardinal symptoms, the main symptoms. Number 1, you get shortness of breath, or what we call asthma. Person does small task, goes in the bathroom, by the time he finishes bathing, is fighting for air, gasping.
Okay, shortness of breath, struggling to breathe.
Yes. Another symptom is another common symptom is chronic cough. You have a cough in period of 3 months, they end, if you stay there after the next 3 months, you find that in a year you are still coughing.
Okay.
So you could be a candidate for, you could be having COPD. Most likely. Another symptom is chest heaviness. You feel you are breathing, but you feel something is heavy. You are lifting something heavy in your chest.
In the chest. Okay.
So those are the 3 main symptoms. But in more advanced cases, you find that this condition can call it a sign. The fingers and the tongue, they become bluish in advanced stages.
The fingers and the tongue, okay.
Yeah, and then, so even people that, this what we call the level bond angle, the base of the nail, when you do this, you're supposed to have this space in, but it is lost. This is what we call
that is in later
clubbing.
stages.
Yeah, in later stages.
Wow.
So, but in early stages, you have chronic cough, you have shortness of breath, and you have heavy chest. And even sputum production, just because you always keep coughing and you cough out sputum.
Okay.
Those are the symptoms.
Is this chronic obstructive lung disease common across all ages, or it is more in certain ages? And is it common across all ages, children, teenagers and adults, or it's most in a particular age group?
It is common in people that are above 40,
okay,
because of the issue of aging and how aging affects the lung system.
Okay.
So it mostly manifests at 40. But if the exposures are high, if somebody is maybe working in industries, factories, traveling in traffic daily, every morning and evening, and the smoker, it can manifest before 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means the risk factors actually, they predispose you slowly but surely.
Yes.
So you may be around people that are smoking, or your neighborhood there is a lot of burning of firewood, or you prepare food from your house, and then you don't see any problem. But some years down the road, you'll be able to get the problem.
Yes.
Okay. How is it? How are we dealing with it in Uganda? Do we have the capacity to handle this situation? Where do you, you a physiotherapist, do you work on your own, or there is a group of other medical specialists that you work with to handle this situation? How is this situation handled?
Now, of course, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is raising more attention nowadays. Now we are having more people waking up to understand the issue, and more people are going into training, and even researchers are coming in to identify what could be the cause of the problem.
Yes, as you answered, did you say that 17th November is the World COPD Day?
17th November this year has been a World COPD Day, but the entire month of November is a World COPD month.
Okay.
So in that month, we consider raising awareness, showing people what could be the causes and the symptoms, and they can know where to go for testing.
Did you have any activities in Uganda for that day this year?
We did not have activities in Uganda in particular.
Okay.
So we were just doing an awareness on individual basis and patients we are accessing, but it has been globally, just some functions were done in UK and US.
Okay. So you were back telling us how to go. Now that somebody realizes these symptoms, what do they do?
So if you get these symptoms I mentioned above, you can consider testing. You can look for, there are 4 main tests we consider here. There is spirometry. In spirometry, we look at the air flow. You are breathing in air and you breathe in air and out. So we subject you to breathe out through a tube, and then we can see the rate of airflow and the amount of airflow. The rate, I mean, at certain time, 1 second, 3 seconds, and 6 seconds, how much air you are giving out, and then we look at after the entire exhalation of pushing out air, how much you are. So we compare it with the at your age limits, how much you are supposed to give out. Then we can stage. So using the spirometry, we can stage. We can know the severity of the disease. From mild to moderate, then it's severe.
But you would advise our viewers, maybe the first place is to go to see a doctor.
Yes.
And so the doctor recommends those particular tests. So one of them is spirometry.
Spirometry. Next is X-ray. It can show you any chest or lung changes. Some maybe people who have oximeter, they can check oxygen saturation within their bodies, because normally in COPD the oxygen saturation goes high.
Okay.
That's why you find your breathless, because there's high carbon dioxide retention and less partial pressure of oxygen in blood. So in more advanced settings, they can even do bronchoscopy. They do a light guided tube
down your
lungs, yes,
okay.
And they can view it.
Leopard, you're going to first leave it there for a bit. We are going for a break, and when we return, you'll just pick it up from there. Thank you so much, guys, for keeping it here with us, and special regards to the Quiz Mali production crew that are also making sure that this show is coming live to us this evening. Continue to invite your friends, share the link. The Doctalk Show on Facebook as well as YouTube, and leave your comments or questions in the comment section below. Thank you. We'll be back in a minute.
You are watching the Doctalk Show. You are watching the Doctalk Show.
Thank you so much for keeping it here with us. Dr. Joseph Gavin Nyanzi is my name for those that are joining us right now. And in studio with me is Mr. Leopold Buseruka, a cardio-respiratory physiotherapist. That means they help if you have a problem with your heart, if you have a problem with your lungs, they are part of that treatment to help get your lungs back to normal function or your heart back to normal function. And tonight we are discussing COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, diseases of the airway, where the airway, your air cannot get into your system very well, or enters it with difficulty. And before we broke off, Leopold, you were telling us about the various tests that people can do when we go to hospital, when we see a doctor. You talked about spirometry, and you said it's available in Uganda. You talked about X-ray. An X-ray can be able to tell that there's a problem with your lungs. You also talked about bronchoscopy, where they can move a tube down that has a video on it so that they're actually able to look at your different parts of the lungs. Are there any other tests that can be done in our hospitals?
Of course, the other one which is cheap and cost effective is oximeter.
Oximeter.
Yeah, even digital one we are having on the market.
No, that one everybody knows. Because of COVID, everybody knows oximeter, which is able to tell how much oxygen is going in.
Yes, yes.
So you said when somebody has a problem, there is an obstruction in their airway, the oxygen levels go down.
Drop, yes.
They drop. Okay. How do we handle these cases? Are they treatable in our hospitals, or people have to leave this country?
It appears that except asthma, which the life expectancy appears to be higher than chronic obstructive pulmonary disease combined with emphysema. Emphysema and chronic obstructive and chronic bronchitis appear to be progressive in nature. But management is possible.
Say that again. Apart from asthma, emphysema, and chronic bronchitis, they are progressive in nature.
Yes.
They keep getting worse with time.
Yes, with time.
Oh, that is scary.
So management is there definitely, but before you establish a management step ahead, we have to do testing first. We have to do spirometry to know the level of the disease. But before you do a spirometry, you have to do a systemic examination of the patient, taking a good history, observe the chest and breathing patterns. You do palpation, you do percussion and see if the chest is, because in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, air comes in but does not go out. So you find there is air retention. So when you do percussion in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, you find it's like a drum because there's air inside.
Too much air. It's not coming.
So management, you do those examinations. Okay. And then you do spirometry. Then from a spirometry, now you can know how much, the level of the disease. Before you do management,
you said in spirometry you're able to tell how much air is coming out.
It's coming out
in maybe per second or per minute.
Yes, the first second, third, and sixth second, and then the entire how much somebody is able to exhale forcefully.
Oh, okay.
Then just to compare his results with the standards to his age, race, and gender. Then from there, then you can also do what we call submaximal exercise testing. Some other people call it cardiopulmonary exercise testing. Okay. Then you can see the rate at which somebody is getting fatigued. We call rate of perceived exertion. Okay. And then when the breathing sets in, and then you can check for heart rate and oxygen saturation changes. Okay. Before an exercise test and after, then you can compare. From there you can see discrepancies. Then from there you can start management. So in the management, we have mandatory pulmonary rehabilitation. Mandatory
pulmonary rehabilitation. Yes, yes. Trying to revive the lung system.
When I talk of pulmonary rehabilitation, I mean a structured exercise program. Okay. Structured meaning it has a specific goal. If I'm breathless, I'm not able to go to work, maybe you give a time, maybe in 2 weeks I can be able to go back to work, for example. Okay. Then it has to be individualized. Why are we individualizing it? If there are two patients that have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, they don't have the same what we call patient characteristics. Wow. They don't fail to perform a task at the same level. The oxygen saturation levels are not the same. Yes. The frequency of cough are the same. So you give a pulmonary rehabilitation basing on those patient characteristics. These also are combined with other specialists. They come in and also consider giving corticosteroids to try to limit inflammation of the airways, and bronchodilators so that you can open up the airway. And in advanced stages, they give them oxygen therapy, and then they can even take their home and have it on. Okay. So when we are managing these cases, we advise people not to put on weight because excessive weight impairs breathing. And then these people get give them medicine that can make them sleep, because when you sleep, even breathing somehow is almost getting shut down.
Okay.
And it's better that people these patients can be in sitting position.
Okay.
Because sitting position appears to slightly open up the airway. The person can keep oxygenating. We also consider breathing exercises so that we can improve on air delivery. Oxygenated, because the atmosphere is expected to have more air.
Okay.
Which is air that has more oxygen. So breathing exercise can help oxygenate the other levels where they have high carbon dioxide.
Okay.
And we teach these patients to do what we call economy of energy. But there are some positions which help the patient to breathe well. And then you also teach them to how to manage symptoms. In most asthmatic patients,
yes,
we give them what we call a peak flow meter. They can have it and then keep monitoring the asthma.
So if peak flow meter.
Yes, small
so
piece.
They breathe into it.
Yeah,
they blow into it.
They blow out.
Okay.
So if the obstruction is advancing, you can see that the air you're blowing out is little.
Okay.
Of course, there are cut-off points for a man and a woman. Then you can seek medical attention before it worsens.
Okay.
So why are we considering pulmonary rehabilitation and saying it more? Because not everyone can start an exercise program. You have to have parameters where you're starting from. Because if anyone can go, then you can get problems. You have not been exercising. Your muscles are weak. So you're given a task, but then I can get what we call overuse training syndrome. When you do an exercise you have been not doing for some time, you somehow destabilize your hormones.
Okay.
The hormones that regulate ATP production, energy production.
Yeah.
And these patients, then they get getting more lactic acid in their bodies.
Okay.
They get fever. Then they drop out. So you lose the program. So it's better that you have a systematic approach.
So the exercise is not the same for every patient.
It's not the same.
You structure the exercise according to the needs of that particular patient.
The needs of the patient, depending on what you have identified from spirometry, from from submaximal exercise testing, and from the systematic examination you did, I said above.
Okay. So this work, you said you're doing in liaison with a chest physician?
Yes, of course.
We have chest physicians in Uganda?
We have pulmonologists who are helping us, whom we are working together to manage these cases.
Okay.
But we can also have walk-in.
Oh, somebody walks in.
Walks in, then we can assess that, and then we identify, we take the history, we do these tests, and then we can help them out.
So there is hope. It's not the end of the world. You know, at the beginning we were told over 3 million people die. Did you say annually? Daily?
Annually.
Annually. 3 million is such a big number. And you also told us that actually COPD is number 3. It takes position number 3. The bronze medal for the world, the diseases in terms of death per disease.
Yes.
And that seemed quite scary. But then Leopold is telling us that actually there is hope, there is management right here in our country. How do we prevent this? You know, somebody said prevention is better than cure.
True.
How do we prevent this? How do we get rid of this?
Prevention, of course, goes with risk factors. You just cut off. The risk factors, we said smoking. People should refrain from smoking to whatever
Are you saying there is nothing good about smoking?
Nothing good.
Whatsoever?
Everything from smoking is negative.
Did you hear that? There is nothing good at all in smoking. So, my dear fellow men, and of course in the last few years, women listening in this and watching us this evening, smoking has no good in it. It predisposes you to many other things, and one of them is chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. Yes, any other prevention strategy?
Another couple of ways of how to prevent is to avoid exposure to gases, dangerous gases. If you have been cooking in your home and the doors are closed, it's better you open the windows and doors. Even if you're using gas, LPG gases, the liquefied petroleum gas, this one we are using.
From the petrol stations.
Yes. If you are using it for over a period of time and it becomes dirty, this stove becomes dirty, it's also dangerous because it is giving these liquefied things in the atmosphere and breathing in them.
Wow.
So it's better you have the
Let's pause a bit there. Leopold, we are coming back in a minute and you're going to pick it up from there. Guys, this is preventable and we're going to take a break, but allow me pass on appreciation to the National Medical Stores and the Camelin men's collection that are bringing this program to us. We'll be back in a minute.
You are watching the Doctalk Show.
It's a new day. Let's make some noise with our new toys. 'Cause it's so perfect if you have a worry. Oh, oh, oh. 'Cause we just love to play. Don't mind the dark clouds, we'll chase them away. Look straight ahead, all of our friends coming out to play. 'Cause we just love to play, yeah. And don't it make you feel so good? We just love to play. It's time for us to smile again. We just love to play again. Smile again for all to see. And we can play safely with our friends, yeah. And it's time to smile again. Play safely and smile again. Smile again for all to see. It's a new day. We just love to play. And it feels so good to smile again.
You are watching the Doctalk Show.
Thank you so much for keeping it with us as we come to a close with our last segment. We are here discussing the lungs. 17th November of every year, we commemorate the World Chronic Obstructive Lung Disease Day. In studio with me is Leopold Buseruka, a cardiorespiratory physiotherapist, and that's what we've been talking. Before we broke off, you were telling us about how to prevent, and one of the things that came out very clearly, please cut out smoking. Cut out smoking. Cut out smoking. Yes, any other prevention strategies?
Now that we have also identified that pollution levels are 5 times higher than the highest recommended, maximum recommended by WHO, if you are leaving your home, it's advisable you close the windows. Because traffic, air is going to come into your room if it is open.
Ooh.
Then when you come at night, you close and keep breathing that air. So if at all you're also a person who finds himself.
So first say that again. So you people of the lungs, you're recommending us to keep our houses closed during
Once
the
you are leaving your home and nobody's there, close your windows and doors to avoid pollutant air to go in. Polluted air.
What
to
about the aeration?
Nobody's there.
Nobody's at
Why
home.
do you leave it open? To find gases waiting for you.
Wow.
Polluted air waiting for you.
That is a new one, eh?
Yes.
When you leave home and there's nobody at home, open those windows to avoid air,
you close them.
polluted air to come into the house. So when I come back in the evening, I can open a bit, then close
You open, yes.
for a little aeration, okay?
Then another issue is traffic. If you are moving on traffic on a daily basis, it's advisable that you put on masks. Because they trap the dangerous molecules that you are sucking from petroleum combustion, from vehicles and even the industries. So
now going forward, you advise us to use masks.
Masks.
Even just beside
Yes.
COVID.
Yes.
Masks help to. I used to see this thing, I think, in China.
China and
those
India.
very popular, and India, people putting on masks. So it has come to Uganda.
yes,
So we should be using masks continually.
only traffic.
Okay.
So and the other of course, even children, if you're taking children on a daily basis for schools in town, just think twice. Just try to see if you can. Children can also have masks, but it's better to have them in a safe environment, really. Expose them with gases every morning and every evening, and their lungs are still maturing. You are just stopping them from maturing well or healthy. So
Okay.
another thing is people, all these gases, these odorous things we use products, perfumes. If you have a COPD at the moment, or you have a history of asthma in family, it's better you avoid these perfumes
Okay.
and these odorous products like these soaps that have that odor, and then we keep mopping, we use them and mopping in our houses. It's better you breathe completely fresh air.
Okay. Wow. So with those strategies, we can put COPD at bay.
Yes.
Amazing. This is very identifying the enemy, and Leopold has been giving us actually hope and letting us know that this is something that we can approach and actually be able to overcome. Leopard, usually in our shows, we always, the last minutes of our show, we always talk about what we call to action. Now that we know what the problem is, we know what the strategy is, we know how to go about it, there are people that we call policy makers. Many Ugandans are watching tonight, MPs are watching, policy makers in the Ministry of Health are watching, policy makers in the Ministry of Finance are watching, and I'm almost very sure that actually the head of state is watching. So, please, call to action. You've already given a call to action to Ugandans. Any other thing you want to tell Ugandans that are watching?
Number one, or continue from where I stopped, it is people should, if you have the symptoms, breathless, when you do a small task, you have chest heaviness, chronic cough, and chronic sputum production, it's better you go for testing. But policymakers can think of training people to do these tests, spirometry and all that, and also raising campaigns, trying to inform the public, have the media and whatever to inform people that COPD is there, air pollution is there causing it. People can try, now the policymakers can even try now to control traffic. If you're having old vehicles coming in, more industries are being installed, but they should also be considered in giving them guidelines to control the gases they are emitting in the atmosphere. So that we have now a controlled air or atmosphere where we are breathing in, a very safe air for breathing. But also think of improving on our rehabilitation centers by keeping them with rehabilitation equipments, considered not only for physical these joints and neuro conditions, but also lung conditions need rehabilitation centers. We don't have in the country. So we need that those infrastructures to be put in place. Even now we have COVID survivors. COVID has a damaging effect on the lungs. So even these people need to be rehabilitated so they can improve on survival, because chronic rehabilitation improves on survival. Because it controls these symptoms and reduces hospital admissions, people can live longer and be able to take care of their families.
You talked about the cars, and then I remembered that actually I think we are making good progress, because I think as of last year or 2 years ago, we no longer import cars that is it 15 or 10 years? 10 years from the date of manufacturing. For example, now that we are in 2021, I think somebody cannot import a car that is older than 2011 or something like that. So I think that is really something that is in the right direction to curb the level of air pollution in the country. Yeah, something very important that you've mentioned also, God, our local leaders, local government leaders, municipality leaders, town council leaders, you know. I've been to places, I've stayed or moved through places where you see accommodation, and just a few meters away from where people are staying, there are factories, you know, and you're like, oh, our leaders, even in the interest of money, we should be looking out for the lives of the people that we lead. There should be guidelines on places where we can have factories and places where residential places for the Ugandans. So these are also very important things in a fight against chronic obstructive lung disease. And something very important that Leopold has mentioned this evening, the symptoms we mentioned. For those that came in a little late, we talked about excessive coughing for a long time, and you've taken many syrups, cough syrups, but there is no change, and you keep coughing. That could be a sign, so you need to go and check on the doctor. We've talked about breathlessness. You easily find difficult in breathing. You just walk a few steps and you're finding it difficult to breathe. And we also talked about heaviness of the chest. And then in advanced stages, he told us your palms or your tongue becoming blue. When we get such symptoms, we need to really run to the hospital yesterday and not tomorrow, so that actually we can be able to nip this condition in the bud. As we come to a close, Leopold, final remarks and any final message, parting short to the viewer.
I want to mention that chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is increasing because industries are being put in place. Cars, people are getting more from poverty level. Poverty levels are reducing, people are buying more cars, we're having more traffic. So every person should be mindful of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Nobody is immune from that. But we should also note that immunization against respiratory diseases, COVID, vaccine,
yes,
and influenza vaccines. If at all you have a silent COPD and you get COVID, you are gone.
Oh yeah.
That's why they have been telling that these people are risk groups. They need to go for vaccination. Because now we don't have a good testing. We don't have testing areas. I may be having asthma, I don't know. It is just there silent. Because I've been exposed to these gases in the atmosphere. We're traveling on traffic. So people above 18 should go for COVID vaccination.
Wow.
It's very important that we protect our lives. Because now we're getting free vaccines. Let's take advantage of them. Thank you.
Vaccinations are available. Let's go out and let's get vaccinated against COVID. It's also one other protective measure against death from COPD. As we come to a close, I can never say thank you enough for always giving us opportunity to, discuss with you. Do not forget to leave the questions under there in the comment section on our Facebook platform as well as our YouTube channels, the Doctalk Show. We will surely get back to you. And as we come to a close, remember, COPD, chronic obstructive airway disease, is here with us. But then we've been assured hope is all not gone. We can handle them, we can fight out of it by going to the doctor when we still have time. We are going to leave it at here for today, and we will be back next Thursday. I want to give special mention of our sponsors, that is the National Medical Stores, as well as Camelin Men's Collection. Thank you for bringing this show to us every other Thursday. I'm yours truly, Dr. Joseph Gavin Nyanzi, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye. God bless you.
The Doctalk Show.
My name is Superintendent of Police Kauma Nsereko Rogers, and I'm the KMP Traffic Commander. We are going in a festive season, and it is a very busy season in our country. There's a lot of movement, people are moving in the city, people are moving out of the city. But unfortunately, it is also the season when we